Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's having a fantastic week. It is Thursday. You know that means it is time for high probability short-term profits with Mike Wade. First off, we're going to talk about a quick market review. We're going to talk about a couple things going on in the market right now. We're going to go over our portfolio. 89% wins, 42 out of 47. That is pretty dang good. Then we're going to talk about a couple recent trades, DAL, USO, LOW, ACN. Then we're going to talk about today's trade. We got a full lineup here, Mike. So then after that, of course, we're going to get to y'all's stock. So go ahead and get some ticker symbols in the chat. And we'll go ahead and check those out in just a little bit. Mike, what's going on, Monkey Man? How's it going?
Good. I had my interaction with the monkeys this morning. Unfortunately, they're not coming when we start the show. I got to come a bit later. But today there was a monkey with a mother with a baby on his back, and I fed them both a banana. So that was the highlight of my week so far, other than being with you here, Ryan.
Yeah. You better throw that in really quick. I better rank higher than a monkey on your list, if we're being honest.
Yeah, a little bit. Is it cold where you are? I just noticed you have a hoodie on.
Dude, it is. It's 40 degrees and I'm already ready for summer again. It's crazy. 40 degrees is obviously nothing, but down here in the South, it is, freezing for
South
us.
Carolina, that's very cold, yeah.
Absolutely.
You know what the temperature here is almost every day?
I don't want to know. Don't even tell me. Don't even tell me. I don't want to hear perfect 70 to 75 and perfect.
I won't say a thing about it. It's 85 degrees every day.
Get out of here, Mike.
All right.
What's going on?
The markets are rolling up. Let's take a look at this little blurb. We had a report come out this morning. The jobless claims came in lower than expected. That's one piece of news. The other is retail sales rose. Jobless claims dropped. The economy is doing well. Inflation is going in the right direction. The Fed just cut rates a month ago by 0.5 percentage point. They're likely to cut rates again, perhaps soon. As this data shows more and more of a rosy picture, the jobs market is strong. Inflation is coming down. It's rainbows and birds singing and sunshine. That's how the market feels to me right now. And indeed, after that news, let's go into CNBC and check out the futures. So the futures are right up here on the top of the screen here. And you can see the Dow futures are up 0.27%. S&P futures up 0.62%. That's a big number there, 0.63. And then the NASDAQ, which is heavily packed full of tech stocks, is on the rise, primarily because of what happened here with TSMC. TSM is the stock, this ticker symbol, an AI chip company that blew it out. Their revenues have increased 54%. So that's having a dramatic impact on the NASDAQ. And we're going to be looking at this trade a bit later. But let's go right into the hub charts here. This is this beautiful hub software, charting software I use. And you can see here a chart of the S&P 500, the SPYs, we call them the SPYs. And I have this all-time high resistance level here right at 585. Okay, so the market, the SPYs will open just above 585 today. Now, again, we've had a nice bullish run here already, a little bit of a dip. And now we're going to be testing all-time highs today. I would imagine that the SPYs will close at an all-time high today. And I'm imagining that. I might be wrong about that. But what I know about the economy points to further upside. We are, and maybe we can show this chart about the earnings that are on store this week, Ryan. And this is earnings for this week. Notice a lot of the bank stocks there have announced this week, a few last week. So lots of banks have announced. We've got Netflix and Intuitive Surgical. Those will likely be good sniper candidates. And then Friday morning, we have American Express, Schlumberger, and Procter & Gamble. So the point here is that we are now in the thick of earnings season. You'll see charts like this from me through the end of November. There's going to be a lot of them. There's going to be a lot of snipers. So buckle your seatbelts, get ready. The future is bright. All right. Speaking of our, well, let's talk about our past. We've got 4 open trades here. Well, 3 of them are now closed. But let's go through these really quickly here. Accenture was placed on 9/26. This ultimately was a winner. I went ahead and let this one expire because I wasn't able to close it down for 3 cents. But Accenture, whether you got out for 3 cents or not, you had a nice little profit on this trade. So Accenture was a winner. We had a line in the sand at 330, and then the stock just kept on going up. So that was a nice little win we had there. We have another win on Lowe's. And remember, Lowe's was a trade we placed based on the hurricane activity in Florida, 2 hurricanes within 10 days. And, our prognosis was, well, plywood to batten down the hatches, and then repairs for Lowe's and Home Depot as well. And the stock rose as expected. So that one was a winner. We pulled that one off as well. And I'm going to save the Delta trade for last. And then we have this current trade on USO, United States Oil. And remember, the prognosis here is based on the conflict between Iran and Israel. Iran dropped 180 ballistic missiles on Israel here, and the tensions in the Middle East. Once that stuff starts happening in the Middle East, then oil supply is restricted, and oil took off, and then it came down a bit because Israel hasn't responded yet. And then here, Israel said that they're not going to bomb the Iranian oil refineries, and that has dropped oil. Now, currently, this trade is we're down a little bit on this trade, $75, but our line in the sand is right down here. We do know that Israel will attack, and that should keep oil from dropping, And when they do attack, we should see further upside in oil. So this one is really simple. This system is really simple. Put your GTC order in to buy the spread back for a penny in this case, 1 cent. And then should oil close below 69, then exit the trade for a managed loss. All right, so one of the beautiful things about snipers, and we'll look at their portfolio report here in a minute, but one of the beautiful things about snipers is that it's systematic. It's hard rules, discrete, objective rules that tell you when to get in, when to take a profit, and when to take an exit. And indeed, had you followed these rules along with us, you'd be operating at about a 90% win rate with your average profit around 10% every 7 days. That's where this system tends to normalize, and it is here. Again, we've been doing this show for almost a year now, and we're operating with the same data, the same outcomes that I've been sharing with you from the very beginning. All right, let's go to our loser. We got kicked in the bejubies here on Delta, and let me take you through the life of the trade a little bit. I'm going to back this up a day. By the way, if you're interested in this software, it's called Tom's Tools, and it's a really cool piece of software, and it helps me visualize my trades. And so here was Delta. Now we got in right here. Let me take you to when we got in. Give you a little bit of education here. All right, so this little picture here is a risk graph, and it helps me to visualize the trade. So on this day, Delta came down on poor earnings. It went as far down as 49, as high as 51.5 or so, and then closed right in the middle of its range after bad earnings. Still a great trade. I'd take this trade again. And then what happened was Delta just started running up. And let me take you to the 15th. What's today's date? 17th. This would have been on Tuesday. And then Delta made a strong run. All right, so the rules are, if the stock closes above your short strike, your line in the sand, ours was 54. If it closes above that point, then you get out. And it closed at 52.73, which was here and well below our short call here at 54. All right, so this trade at that time was in loss. We follow the rules. United Airlines came out and blew out their earnings. Let me show you a chart of United. This, let me pull up a different watch list here. Let's go to this one. United Airlines came out with really good earnings and took Delta along with it. Let me show you what happened to United Airlines. This earnings announcement was yesterday, and look what happened. All right, so the stock gapped up on great earnings, took Delta with it, and we ended up having to take this down, take this off for a pretty sizable loss because the stock just skyrocketed up. So this risk graph shows us how much you lose here. Now, had it closed here a little bit higher, we would have lost just over 100. But because it gapped up and kept going, we ended up losing $250 on this trade, and we took a punch. Welcome to the world of trading. Now, let me give you the good news. Hey, Ryan, let's throw up that chart on. There, you got it. You're ahead of me. With that, yeah, the infinity zone here. Let me pull that off. There we go. That's what we need. So, where are we now? Yeah, we took that big hit on Delta. We lost $260 on the Delta trade. That's our largest loss this year. And this system took a punch. That's a pretty big punch. Our average position size is $366, bottom left. And we took that punch, and we're still operating at an 89% win rate with the APL average profit per trade of 10% plus with a 5-day average hold time. All right, so as I said, when we had that, well, we have 18 straight wins, Ryan, I think it was 18 or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And we were at, I think we had like a 14% APL and 95% wins. And I said, don't get used to this. We're going to take a hit. And we did. And the system takes the punch. So again, and I've got lots of data to support this, but this system tends to operate at a 10% APL, 90% wins, average hold time every 7 days. All right, so 10% doesn't sound like a lot, but when you get it every 5 days, you can take the same money and trade it 4 times during a month. And then that number, of course, gets greatly amplified. So don't get distracted by small percentage profits and in terms of the amount of profit. Just know that you're just getting on base, like Moneyball, the movie Moneyball. Get on base, get on base, get on base. Once out of every 10 on bases, you get struck out and you just score runs in a very systematic, high probability, short-term way. All right, so I'm happy. I think this is really beautiful. The system's working. And even more so, we have a new trade for today. Let's talk about Taiwan Semiconductor, the symbol being TSM. So let's take a look at the news here. So Taiwan Semiconductor blew it out. The stock surged more than 8% pre-market. They announced this morning, and they report, this is what's really just freaking amazing, but they reported a 54% gain in net profit for the third quarter. Now, other companies like NVIDIA are moving up in sympathy with this stock. But what's beautiful, beautiful, beautiful about Taiwan Semi is the stock chart. Let me show you this. This is pretty classic. So let's pull up Taiwan Semi. And I'm going to give you some more data here. I've traded this one. Let me get rid of that there. I forgot I had that in there. Remove all drawings. There we go. All right. Now, what I really love about it is the stock pre-market is trading over 200. Now, the beauty of this one is that this level here, this is a line in the sand. It's a resistance level. I call them lines in the sand, is dancing right at 193. And you can see right now, the stock just opened up. Now, what's interesting about this line is that this is an all-time high. Taiwan Semi has never been at 204.90 or 205, let's call it. Never. And today, it gaps up above this long-term resistance level. The last time, well, the stock's never been up here, but the last time 193 was tested, or the first times, I should say, look here, bounce, bounce, bounce. 193, round number, the stock bases, starts to gather itself. And then over the last few days, it has been testing this 193 level. Institutions are like, I'm not ready yet to take it above 193. 193, nope. 193, nope. Test, test. And then today, the stock gaps up above this level for an all-time high. On amazing news, 54% increase in net profits is crazy. Crazy. The chances of this company now dropping beneath 193 are, what's the right word? I won't say slim. Let me say it this way. There's a higher probability that the stock will remain above 193 now, given this basing pattern, it's called, kind of like a cup and handle as well. If you're a cup and handle trader, not much of a handle, but you don't need a cup and handle, but just the consolidation and the basing pattern below 193. So this one for me is just gorgeous. Now, the next question becomes, where do I put my line in the sand? So what I want to do is put a line on this chart, not that one. I want to put a line on this chart that will give me profit anywhere above it. All right? In my community, I have this mantra, look left. Look left. Whoop. Resistance. Resistance. Support, support. Support here. So that level there is, let's see, what's that level? Let me round it up. So let's call it 183. So 183 is a beautiful line in the sand. And I say that because here, 183 tested twice. Here, resistance tested here as well. Here, look at this. This is really beautiful here. Look, resistance, 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 support, 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 support. So you could literally on this one come closer, excuse me, but I'm just going to see what's available at 183. I don't know what the option pricing is right now. I do know it's elevated because we're in the first 3 minutes of the market. So what I'll do now is go into a simulated thinkorswim environment, and let's pull up a stock chart, the option chain, excuse me, and let's follow the system. So I'm going to try for a 15-day trade on this. And just to remind you, the line in the sand I'm after, let's pull it back up here, is right here at 183. What strike is at or below 183? That's my question. Let's see what's there. I don't know. So we can go find 182.50. And I can see here that there's only 12 cents there. All right, so I'm going to have to lift this up a little bit. Why? Well, I want the credit for the trade to be at least 10% of the spread width, which in this case, as you can see, is $2.50. So I need 25 cents there. So the only thing I can do now, there's two things I can do. But one would be, well, let's start lifting the short strike up. My line in the sand is the upper strike here. And let's see where I can find 25 cents. And I can see 27 cents, 28 cents right at 187.50. Well, is that a good place to sell? Well, let's go look. Let's look at a chart. 187.50. So if I change this line here to 187.50, I think we're going to do this one. Is that a good level as well? Yeah, look. Support, support, resistance, 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 support, 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 resistance up in here. I like it. This is the one we're going to do. Now, you could even, if you want, go as close as 193, but I like to give my trade a bit of wiggle room. And just to be very clear, this trade will make money anywhere above 187.50. Now I gotta stop talking and get this trade on. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna do two contracts of the 187.50, 187.85 puts. I'll put this up here in a minute, but I want to grab it. It's showing 29 cents at the moment. Let me see if we can get it. I'm going to send it in for 29 cents, 28.50. I'm not going to get too crazy about, yeah, we just got it. I just got it for 29 cents. And you can see here the order. All right, so what I'll do next is build this in a spreadsheet for you. All right, apologies, I was working on something last night. Let's pull up the spreadsheet. I don't have it loaded, I apologize. Let me put it up here. Real easy. So the symbol is TSM. And just to repeat, we sold the TSM November 1, 187.50 puts. So November 1, 187.50. I'm going to give you the exact instructions here. 187, 187.5. And then underneath, we bought the 185 puts. Now, I just got 29 cents, but you want to take a minimum of 25. So I'll put that's your minimum. And if you take this trade, you'll have a really high probability of making at least 10% on this trade. And for us, it'll be a bit higher because I just got 29 cents. All right, now, once you're in, it's important then to do the most important part of trading, and that is risk management. And again, what we're going to do is if the stock closes below your short put, which is 187.50, that's your line in the sand as well. It's right here on the chart. This line right here, right there, that one. If the stock closes below that one, your line in the sand, then close it down for a managed loss right at the close. So if 5-10 minutes before the markets, if the stock is below 187.50, then close it. Now, we're going to make money on this trade, provided Taiwan Semi doesn't drop below this line. So in other words, stock can go up and we'll make money. Stock can go sideways, we'll make money. Stock could drop to 193 and we'll make money. The stock can even drop all the way to 187.50 and stop, and we'll make money on this trade. Up, sideways, and down quite a bit. So that's the probability that the system offers, and this one is shaping up very, very nicely, Ryan. All right, there was a lot there. Ryan, is anybody looking at any other stocks or questions or anything?
Let's see. We had a bunch of people actually ask about TSM, so a lot of people on the same page as you.
Good.
We have David is asking about HAL and BAC.
Oh, let's look at both of those. Halliburton. This is an oil company. Yeah, it's coming down. Now, Halliburton rose. This is when Israel was attacked right here. And so the stock ran up. Israel hasn't responded yet. And so when I see this, I'm like, all right, the stock's come down hard, and maybe I would want to do a bearish trade on this one. Maybe I'd say, well, I think the stock's going to stay below 30, but I don't. As soon as Israel does what they're saying they're going to do, shock and awe, and the tensions in the Middle East start escalating around, Iran has already said they're not going to just, they're going to respond as well. So we could have a full-scale war between Israel and Iran. That seems quite likely, certainly very possible. Then I would expect the stock to run up. So because I study intermarket news and geopolitical news and economic news, and I know that I wouldn't count on this stock staying down. If anything, I would consider doing something underneath. So it's down. We can check to see why here. So obviously it's coming down pretty hard. Let's take a look at the news here on Halliburton. So finance.yahoo.com, and then I'll type in the symbol Halliburton. And let's just see what the news is here. If there's any news today, 2 days ago, 18 hours ago. Yeah, not seeing a lot of news. I would imagine that oil is down. Let's go check that out real quick here. I'm going to pull up a symbol called USO. And USO is oil. There it is. Oil is down a little bit as well. So I think more of what this is just like, wham, 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 Israel hasn't attacked yet, and the stock's coming back down. But again, this thing could go anywhere. And the other one was Bank of America, right? BAC.
BAC. Yep.
Yeah, that's Bank of America. Now, I do know that Bank of America just announced earnings a few days ago. So let's take a look at Bank of America. And let's see. Here was the earnings was here 2 days ago, 3 days ago. And they had good earnings, but they've come down a little bit. I think this is reasonable one, a reasonable one. Let's check how the earnings actually were on Bank of America. So I'm going to go into the news here and just see. Let's just see what the news, the earnings news is. Let's see. They beat on their earnings. Their earnings per share they beat. We can dig in a little bit more. So the revenue came in flat. Net income was down a bit. Profit margin was down a bit. And they beat on their earnings, but that's down from they met their expectations. They slightly beat their expectations, but those expectations were lowered. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Ideally, this would have been caught on the day of. I think there's better banks, actually. I'll give you one. Wells Fargo. Now, before I pull this up, let me show you this. Look at this chart. And by the way, you can see a resistance level up here. Look left and look for pivot points where the stock chart turns around and then derive some level of, I like to put these at round numbers. And so I can see 44. All right, so this stock has resistance at 44. That's because it was resistance over here and failed, right? So when I see that, their earnings were mixed. They beat on EPS, but it was lowered, and they were down across the board in different categories. It gapped up, came back down on earnings, and now is starting to right itself. If it does rise, expect there to be resistance at 44. So I don't like to do these kind of trades. You know, if this happens again, let's say I decided I want to do something on this one, and I would say 41 would be a good level. Look at the resistance and support. Resistance, 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 resistance. Busted through resistance here on high volume. So I think that's a good level. But what I don't like about it is that if it hits 44 like it did over here and comes back down, we can get into some hot water. And there's better banks than Bank of America. Wells Fargo. Check out Wells Fargo and see if you like this chart just a bit better. Which one do you like better? That one, which has now decisively cleared this resistance level over here. 61. The stock is rolling. And you can go back in history. It also, there's a resistance level here that it cleared at 62.50. Earnings, this was earnings. Earnings was great. They blew it out. And it's just keeping on, keeping on. So if I was to do one of these banks, I would do Wells Fargo and not Bank of America. Where would you sell? I'd say no closer than 62.50, but maybe somewhere here. Look, resistance, 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 support, 61. I would consider this one at or below 61. There we go. Thank you for the stock charts to look at. Appreciate that. Anybody else, Ryan?
Yes, sir. Steve says CSX.
CSX. Yeah, I saw that one in the news today. Yeah, CSX came down. I was actually looking at this one earlier. In fact, I believe this is there's a place where you can find these candidates on CNBC anyway. There's a lot of them. But it's called Stocks Making the Biggest Moves Pre-Market. And CSX is in here. At least I think it is. Yeah, there it is. So, yeah, it's a railroad a railroad company, Mikey. The transportation stock fell more than 4% following the company's weaker than expected quarterly results. Bad news, good for us. For the third quarter, CSX posted earnings of 46 cents per share on revenue of $3.62 billion. That's below the 48 cents per share expected and the 3.67. So anyway, they missed on EPS and expected earnings, and the stock has come down hard as a result. Now, I would love for them to lower their future guidance, and then it would be a no-brainer. But the technical picture on it is quite compelling. So it's come all the way down. This is what it was last night. This is where it is this morning. Bad news, stock tanks. So then I start looking at, well, where might it stop dropping? Check this out here. So you can see here at 33, a lot of support. Look at where these lows are connecting right on 33. So it looks like it could drop to 33 and then probably will stop. And so now that's good to know. So it's got plenty of room to drop. And then the other side of the coin is, well, where might I sell? Ideally, we would sell up here at 36. Why? Well, look left. Look left. Right there. Support became resistance. At that point, it was tested yesterday pre-earnings, and now the stock is down. I actually like this one. Thank you, Steve. Let's see what we can get on it. Let's go to CSX under trade here. And I'm going to go 15 days. And I want to sell at 36 right up here. And let's see what's available. There's 7 cents credit right now at 36. All right, how much do I need minimum? Well, 10% of the spread width. That's $1 times 0.10. 10% is 10 cents. So I need 10 cents here. There's only 7. So the next choice I have is, well, might I drop it down to 35? There's 10 cents there at 35. So selling the 35, buying the 36. But then you got to go back to your line in the sand and see if you like that level. So it's saying we'd have to sell here. I don't like it. Can you see why? Let me show you. Let me get some support resistance levels here. Yeah, right at 33, 34, 33.50. Let's put it at 33.50. So I'm just looking at pivot points where the stock price changes direction. So let's make it 33.50. And look here, 33.50. Here, it was at 35. It dropped down to 33.50 in a matter of days. And then it went back up to 35. So it's in this channel, and I would expect this channel to hold. And the last thing I want to deal with is the stock bouncing off of 33.50 and then getting us into some hot water. So there's just no way I would do that one. Just looking at the pattern, it's channeling. It could be back up at 35 tomorrow, in the next few days. So 36 is my hard level. I don't want to go any lower than 36. All right. So if I go back to the Thinkorswim and see, 36 is my minimum. All right. So I can see that if I put this in for 10 cents and the stock bounces a bit, we'll have a good chance of getting filled. Or I could go out one more week. So here's the different expirations available. I by default, I go 2 weeks, 15 days, 14 days in that ballpark. But sometimes I'll go a bit further out. In this case, 22 days. And let's look at the 36.37 for November 8th. And there's only 5 cents even on that one. So here's the order I'm going to put in. I'm going to put a hook in the water. And I only want 10 cents, a minimum 10 cents. So I'll just set an order here for 10 cents. And if it fills, cool. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So let me go ahead and put this in for today. And then I'll give you this trade in the format sheet here. So this would be Let me get the strikes here. The CSX, November 1st, 36. Okay. Okay, the symbol is CSX. And we're going to be selling one of the November 1, 36 calls, buying the 37 calls for a net credit of 10 cents. Mike, it's only worth 7. Yeah, I know. But I don't want to go to 35. The only way this will fill, y'all, is if the stock bounces a little bit today. So if it bounces up, if it gets back up to where, let's zoom in here. If it gets back up to the high of the day, then this is a likely fill, and we're in a really safe spot, bringing me to the trading adage that will really reduce your stress levels is let the trade come to you. Us humans, I mean, this is a compelling trade, and I want the trade. I want to get in. No, find the best trade you can find. Put your order in. This is my price, and I'm just going to let this trade come to me. And if I don't get filled, I don't get filled. Because as I pointed out, we're in earnings season, and there just ain't no reason to go forcing trades at this point, especially because there's so many earnings coming out the rest of this week, as well as over the next 5-6 weeks. All right, what time we got here? All right, well, Ryan, any other last stocks or questions?
Just looking through things now. Let's finish up with EXPE.
Expedia. Travel stocks are doing really well. Expedia. Oh, baby. I tell you what, they're the reason I like Expedia is I'm also watching Carnival and Royal Caribbean. What's happening with Carnival and Royal Caribbean even. RCL, let's put RCL up as well. These are cruise liners, of course, the biggest two, Royal Caribbean, and those stocks are running. They were talking about how their ships are booked up into long into the future, and their business is really good. Expedia must have announced earnings today. I missed this one. Let's take a look and see what they said. How good were your earnings? Let's see. Stock rises 6% because Uber might be eyeing a takeover. Might. Has it happened? No. That's the news. Not super excited about a maybe on Expedia. The other thing that normally happens, especially when after the acquisition is announced, like it's done, and it isn't, it's a might. I'm not going to trade it. The news isn't solid enough. Uber might say, nah, we're not going to do it. And then the stock tanks. So it's not enough news for me. It doesn't have staying power. Staying power like a company misses on earnings and then lowers their future guidance. There's just very little reason for that stock to rise before earnings when that happens. It's got staying power, lowered their future expectations, their future guidance, raised their future guidance. That news has shelf life, 3 months. This news doesn't have any reliable shelf life. And so for that reason, I'm going to pass on this one, Ryan. I do like the stock chart, though. The stock chart is quite beautiful. If you wanted to take a chance on it, but don't do that, then I would look at one, somewhere at or below 150. Look left, resistance, support. The only thing you got to worry about is if Uber says, nope, we're not doing it, then Expedia could very well correct. So I'm not going to do this one. Technically, the chart is very interesting, though. All right, everybody, that's a wrap. There's tons coming. There's tons of opportunities coming. Now, if you're new here or you don't have the guidebook, just remember that I've written this amazing guidebook. It took me a whole weekend, lots of graphics and pictures, and it takes you through the entire process that I do here live every Thursday morning with Ryan. Every Thursday morning at 9:15, we take what's in the guidebook and we apply it to generating high probability short-term profits. And by the way, the guide is free, costs no money. feel free to go down to the underneath the recording here or underneath the live session, and you can grab that guide, put in your name and email address, and then you can start trading alongside of Ryan and I every Thursday. Ryan, I think that's a wrap for the day, brother. Hope you have a good weekend.
Same to you.
Thank you, buddy. We'll see if the monkeys next. Hopefully, one day the monkeys will be here when we're live. So I'll have a talk with them. Maybe they'll come later next week. All right, everybody, have a good weekend. Much love, and we'll see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. Bye, y'all.